I'm Tyler,
I'm CJ.
and this is the 2025 Sonsio Grand Prix review. All right. Race news. What happened?
Let's see. So we did have the new driver or tire rules for this weekend, mandating 3 stops for all of the drivers and 2 primaries, 2 alternates to use during the race. That created some interesting strategy calls, and a lot of different ideas on how to approach this race and how to maximize the tires. And then let's see.
I did learn this week that Larson, as everyone knows, he is attempting to do the double this year, run in Indy and Charlotte. I learned this week that he is committed to Charlotte. So if the Indy gets rain delayed, he will be on a plane to Charlotte to drive NASCAR no matter what. So,
Okay.
and if that does happen, if Larson is unable to race in the IndyCar series, Arrow McLaren team boss Tony Kanaan will take his place. So that'll be exciting either
Tony
way.
Kanaan will drive. Okay. That'll be fun. So, yes, and that was probably because NASCAR tightened up their rules on missing what happens when you miss a NASCAR race.
Yeah, because they don't want what happened to Kyle Busch back. I think it was whatever year he won it, where he missed half the season with a concussion and came back into the playoffs and won the whole thing after missing the majority of the races.
Yes, and I think that was also as a result of the Indy being the rain delayed last year
Yeah.
and just other instances.
All right, I think that about does it for pre-race news. Anything interesting in the practices or qualifying you want to cover?
I didn't get around to those highlights, so no.
Yeah, I mean, pretty standard. Good showing from the Ray Hall Letterman team. Graham Rahal himself being up there. I think all 3 of them were in the Fast 6, so good
Yeah.
stuff from them this week.
Yes, quite a lot of pace. All right, the race.
The race. First corner. Something incredible happened. Alex Palou was not leading the race. Good job, Graham Rahal, for successfully making an overtake.
That was stunning. Even though it was a standard race start overtake, it was stunning because it was on
Yes,
Alex
because
Palou.
he did it on perfect Palou, and then went on to lead the next 49 laps.
Yes, incredible. Incredible
The
stuff.
next 49 laps, excluding pit cycles.
Cycles, yes. And then, yes, just a great call. A good gamble to start on the new softs, even though you don't have them at the end. I think it probably worked out for him well. And really, they had some good pace. Or Ray Hall Letterman had great pace at the beginning of the race with DiFrancesco and Louis Foster running very strong at the beginning of the race on the same tires that Palou does. DiFrancesco was right on the back of Palou by the time we get to the first pit cycle. So he was running very fast.
I mean, Foster kind of held on, finished 11th, which not super bad, but then DiFrancesco dropped down to 17th. So
yes, that penalty hurt him bad.
Yes, it did. We have to talk about Mr. Cadillac. Here we go. Yeah. Colton Herda did not have a strong qualifying. Came in only 7th in Group 1. So he didn't make it into round 2 or the Fast 6, and ended up starting 13th on the grid.
13th on the grid.
Yeah. And then, as we watched, suffered some front wing damage on the first lap and dropped down into the
mid-20s, a lap down.
Yeah, so it was really funny. You watch him coming out of the pits, and he's right in there fighting with Palou, Ray Hall, Will Power. He's up there, but he's just a lap down. You would easily mistake him for being competitive, but nope, he's running a lap down.
Yes, it was a shame because he definitely had some potential for sure. He's one of our relatively regular contenders, but was not meant to be today. In IndyCar on the road courses, it's very hard to make back a lap. So it creates a lot of challenges once you go a lap down.
Yeah, he ended up finishing 25th.
Yes.
So
and he ultimately retired on lap 64.
Yeah. So Colton Herda, if you want to get into Cadillac, you gotta pick it up, man. Finishing 25th with a DNF is not gonna get you the super license points to get to Formula One. And that's the thing that I wanna really drive home here, is that everyone is talking about how Colton Herta is gonna get in the Cadillac drive. It's almost guaranteed. The FIA will not let him in if he does not finish at least 4th place here. I mean, they have made exceptions, Colapinto namely, for like having super license points, but he's far enough out that the FIA will not grant him an exception. It also
And
doesn't
he's
help that he's
American.
American.
He's got that running against him too.
Formula One wants American money, not American personnel.
Yes.
All right, enough with the Colton Herda rants. Let's get to the rest of the race.
All right. So Rails is able to pull away from Pizarro at the start, probably because he's on fresher tires. And there's also Newgarden making moves early, which was unfortunate. We did not expect that to happen because he qualified sixth, but had a technical issue in the warm-up laps and dropped all the way down the order to start plumb last in 27th. So he had to move his way up through the field quickly, which was definitely a shame because this was a day of what could have been for Joseph Newgarden, because his Penske teammates finished P3 and P4 and finishing P12. If he had started in P6, he could have been in potential to win this race.
Yep. I mean, we'll get to that when we get to over-unders. We'll dive a little deeper into this. All right. Again, we had tons of minor collisions. Ilot's bump on lap 1. There were tons of little collisions that were almost cautions.
But none resulted in a caution until David Malukas had his spin and got stuck in the grass, and the crowd went wild. Finally, a caution in IndyCar in 2025.
64 laps of consecutive green flag running.
That was incredible. I think we broke 400 laps of consecutive green flag racing.
The Fox broadcast people cut to a camera on the dude that waves the flag at the finish line. He was just standing there waiting. Like, it looks like he was really, really wanting them to throw a caution. Everybody did.
Waving this flag. The flags in IndyCar looks fun because they're like really fast.
He does it a lot better than all the random celebrities that no true F1 fans ever heard of or cares about waving the checkered flags at the end.
Yeah, let the professionals wave the flags.
Help that we're American, so every time a random footballer or soccer player or whatever, or European singer or whatever comes up, number one, we don't really care about soccer or new music that much, so we wouldn't know who they are if they were American, but on top of them being European, we're not going to know anything about them.
Yes. I will say that since the majority of people who watch F1 are not in America, it does make a little bit more sense. But we're Americans, so we'll rant about it.
Yes, we will. I saw a statistic that by viewership, IndyCar is more popular in the U.S. than F1. F1 sits about 1 million people watching each race, while IndyCar is more 1.5, but F1 has about 90 million people watching each race globally. Bigger sport all around, but in the U.S. market, it's still a bit surprising to me that it's smaller. Because like you go out on the street, you ask a random dude like, hey, tell me about IndyCar, they're not going to be able to tell you. And then if you asked, tell me about F1, they're going to say Lewis Hamilton. So F1 definitely has a stronger brand recognition and it's grown a lot in the past few years. Like Marcus Ericsson was doing a small interview today or a few days ago where he was saying that back when he was racing in F1, that was still a very niche, very, very European sport. But now the drivers are they're rock stars, in his words, that there's a whole lot more money in there, but that everyone in IndyCar, it's almost an if you know kind of situation, that those who are there find it really fun and don't really want to leave. Even though there's more money in F1, everyone really enjoys it. Like Pato Ward was saying that he would rather stay if like a slot opened up at a midfield or a low tier team, he'd rather stick around in IndyCar because it's more fun and wait for like a seat at the top team.
And he has more success in IndyCar than he will in a midfield team.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I totally understand that.
So it helps for Pato that he's directly linked into McLaren.
Yes. And not if, when Lando Norris gets annoyed with the team, probably if Oscar wins this season and leaves, O'Ward will probably get a shot, which I'll be happy about.
Yes, Pato O'Ward in F1 would be awesome. He already gets FP1s galore.
Yep. All right, enough with the dynamics tangent. First round of pit stops, pretty good. Credit to Graham Rahal's credit to Rahal's pit crew. They got him in and out just as fast as Pelot's crew, got him staying in front. It's just the tire differentiation they were always running different compounds of tires. First 2 cycles were good. They were in and out just as fast as Palou, but the last stints, he had a jack issue. Stop took a bit longer. He was running on used hards, and Palou had already gotten past him. So like it was already coming apart for Ray Hall, but then the jack malfunction took him out of contention for a podium, which was really sad.
And it put him 19 seconds behind Palou. That's where he finished.
Yep.
So very disappointing day for Graham Rahal. Palou ends up winning again, and let's see. And I really don't understand what was happening on the Rahal pit box because he was already leading the race. So I don't really see why he would need to go. They would feel a need to go off strategy from what the preferred would be. They'd already taken their gamble on the softs, but they could have put on scuffs soft at the end and just driven from there, and would have been just a little bit slower than ending the race on hards, which are inherently slower than scuffed softs. It's not really a great strategy call on their part.
I mean, you bring up a valid point. This is a good transition to over-unders. We were having this conversation on Sunday evening after we watched the race, or on Saturday night. Excuse me, I'm used to this being on a Sunday. That I have Ray Hall as my over, CJ has Ray Hall as his under. I mean, you bring up a good point there. I don't think there was a reason, considering how late the third stop was, to be on hards. I mean, he'd already lost the spot to Palou, and so it was more of a damage control approach would have been preferable, but I still think he's the over because of just the good qualifying that RLL put in, all 3 of them, and that Graham was able to hold it while Francesco and Louis Foster were dropping like rocks through the fields. He was able to stay up there and would have been a penalty had it not been for the jack malfunction. So that's why he's my over. But I get where you're coming from with the strategy for why. I get your case for the under.
Yeah, Rahal, I think, could have finished higher than where he actually finished.
Even with the jack malfunction?
Yeah, I mean, I think even with the jack, I think with the jack malfunction, if he was on a better strategy, he wouldn't have lost more places following his pit stop. And of course, the caution definitely didn't benefit him because he was on slower tires. And then the whole field gets bunched together and it just primes him to lose even more positions. So it really didn't end up the way it could have for him. I think a win was definitely in the cards had those strategy decisions not been made.
Yeah, a few more things had to go right for him, but he definitely he potentially did have a shot there.
Yes. All right. My over for this weekend, however, was Joseph Newgarden. And as I said earlier, he had that start from the back and he drove all the way up to 12th. He could have been better, but of course he had the mechanical issue. I'm not going to fault him for that. Starting from the back and driving that close to the leaders is definitely driving all the way to 12th is definitely a very impressive feat. It got past the likes of Aero McLaren driver Christian Lundgaard.
Yeah.
And all that. So, impressive job. Kudos to Joseph Newgarden. Not having good luck this year, really. But he did pretty good this week. We'll see how he does on the Indy 500. See if he makes it 3 times in a row.
The tables really have turned. It's funny. I think most people would widely consider that Christian Lundgaard to be the over on the season and Newgarden to be the under on the season. I mean, I saw a Reddit thread discussing this exact same thing, and that was the general consensus. And then today we have the complete opposite, with Newgarden being his over and Lundgaard being my under, mainly for mediocre qualifying and just not doing really anything special. I mean, coming off a P2 to a P16.
Dropped 2 positions on the race.
Yeah, beaten by both the Siegel and Award.
Yeah, and he had that penalty in the middle of the race too. That really set him back.
Yeah. Shout out to Scott Dixon though. He does this every race. He does his obligatory "How the heck did you get there?" of the race. Like,
yeah, P5.
How does he do that? He just, like, every race he has mid qualifying and then just will randomly pop up in the top 10.
That's literally his staple. It's incredible.
So shout out to him for that.
That's why he's always in championship contention at the end of these. He was in contention for the championship the last 2 years. He is currently 6th in the standings, over 100 points back from below, but Scott Dixon is a grinder.
Yes, he is.
Will grind. If he wins another championship, he will grind his way to that championship for sure. If he wins a race, he will grind. He's more things like practically his middle name at this point. Had a bit of a slump in Thermal and Long Beach and Barber, but he came back, scored 30 points this weekend.
So, overall race rating, I'll give it a solid 6. It was better than the rest of the races. It was definitely better than Barber. More exciting. I don't know. I can't really explain why. I just found it. It was fun to watch. I didn't feel like
It
I was
wasn't a
waiting for the end
dominant.
to come.
It wasn't a
Yeah.
dominance. We had some action, some battles for the lead, and
Yeah, I
we had
didn't
some
feel
lap
like I was
traffic that
waiting for
created
the end of the
drama
race.
in the form of
Yeah.
Colton Herda. Definitely a 6. Far from an all-time classic. Probably a race that I will forget at some point. Not
Yeah, but it
not
was
incredibly memorable, but definitely a fun race
it
to
made
watch.
for a good time, yeah. All right, yeah. Next week, I will attach a poll to this episode and in the Discord. If you want us to cover the qualifying for the Indianapolis 500, go check out our review of the Advent Health 400 on all of our major platforms. So I think that's going to do it. Thank you all very much for listening. If you enjoyed, subscribe or follow depending on the platform, and we'll see you guys next time.